let me guess. You're here because you typed history of the microscope into your search bar, right? Well, you've clicked on the right link. I'm Dr. LS, and today we're going on a microscope adventure. So grab your lab coats, power up your curiosity, and let's zoom in. First things first, what is a microscope? Here's a quick question for you. Have you ever tried looking at a strand of hair and wished you could see what's really going on? That's exactly what a microscope is for. A microscope is a tool that lets us look at things so small they're invisible to the naked eye. We're talking about cells, bacteria, and even tiny particles of dust. Now, let's get a little nerdy, but fun nerdy. Imagine light or electrons zooming through a tiny sample. Okay, quiz time. Where do you think microscopes are used? Science labs, hospitals, or space stations? Trick question, it's all of the above. Microscopes help us discover new diseases, how to study how our cells behave, explore materials for spacecraft, and yes, even solve crimes. Next, what about the history of microscopes? Well, our brilliant experts will explain the history of the microscope.
What do you want? What do you want? You want some of this? You want some of this? Oh, you just wanted to learn about microscopes. I'm sorry. So, of course, you think microscopes have been around for only 100 years or so? Well, you would be sorely mistaken. Actually, come with me. Let me tell you a story, if you have time. Microscopes have been around for almost 2,000 years. The ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans, they played around with lenses. And they actually had a small understanding that if you use a lens in the right way, it actually can create magnification. But however, fast forward to 1590, Zacharias Janssen, along with his father Hans, who were spectacle makers, were credited with creating the first compound microscope. However, even though it's debated to this day, most scholars agree that they were the first to create what would become one of the most comprehensive and important inventions of the 20th and 21st century.
Hello everyone. You all are using microscope, right? But have you ever wondered what's the story behind invention of microscope? So now I will describe a story about a person who actually invented microscope in the world. So he was a person who is actually known as Galileo Galilei, and he was born in February 1564 in Pisa, Italy. He was a very well-known figure in the field of astronomy and physics. But despite of his contribution in the field of astronomy and physics, he also contributed a huge contribution in the field of biology, because he was the first person who invented the earliest microscope in the world. In the year 1609, he actually learned about a new optical device which was actually developed by the Dutch spectacle makers, and it was a telescope. He started to improve that telescope by creating powerful lenses. He observed that by the proper arrangement of the lenses, he was actually able to magnify smaller objects. So after having that observation, he created a rudimentary microscope. He named his invention as occhielino, which means a little eye in Italian. So with help of that concave and convex lenses, he was able to magnify smaller objects. Though the microscope was invented, but it was just named as occhielino, but the actual term microscope wasn't coined by any scientist. So in later time, a friend of Galileo and a scientist who is actually known as Giovanni Fabry actually coined the word microscope.
Robert Hooke was born in 1635 in Fish Island. He was a scientist, natural philosopher, and architect who became the key figure in the scientific revolution. In recent time, even referred as the England Leonardo. His most significant contribution was his publication Micrographia from 1665 became the scientific sensation, between detailed illustration and descriptions of various specimens observed under the microscope. This involved observing the intricate structures of insects, plants, and even the composition of cork, leading to the coining of the term cells while studying its microscopic cavities. His work revolutionized and laid the foundation for the future advancement in biology.
Pretty sure the others have taken you through a lot by now. And let me tell you, that's not enough because I will be talking about another man. I will be talking about Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. Who is this man, you might be wondering? Now, to answer the question that's on everyone's mind, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek was a Dutch scientist in the 17th century, often called as the father of microbiology. He was not a formally trained scientist, no. In fact, he was a cloth merchant. But he had this deep curiosity and this amazing talent for crafting of lenses. Using his handmade lenses, he was able to achieve magnifications of around 270 times, which was far more powerful than anything available at that time. What really set him apart was not just the power of his lenses, but also his skills in handling them. He was incredibly meticulous and very patient, which allowed him to see things no one else had ever seen before. Around the 1670s, he became the first person to observe single-celled organisms, which we now call as microorganisms. He saw them everywhere. He saw them in samples of pond water, saliva, and even scrapings from his own teeth. Leeuwenhoek also made detailed observations of blood cells, sperm cells, muscle fibers, and blood capillaries. What's remarkable is he did all this without a formal scientific background and without any use of modern equipment. He would share his findings with the Royal Society in London, but at that time, many scientists were skeptical because his claims seemed unbelievable. But over time, his observations were confirmed and widely accepted. His work laid the foundation of microbiology as a field and fundamentally changed our understanding of biology and science. If it was not for Leeuwenhoek and him discovering and coming up with the high magnification, we still wouldn't have to do our practical classes and would be free most of the time. Jokes apart, without him, the discovery of bacteria and the development of germ theory would have been significantly delayed.
Well, those microscopes were not so clear. It was like watching cartoons underwater, you know how it feels, very blurry, right? And those things were referred to as chromatic aberrations by those great scientists during that time. So now let's talk about today's microscopes, which are more clearer. And for that, let's go back in time to meet a person called Jackson Joseph Lister. Joseph Jackson Lister was the one who made microscopes clear, and his son Joseph Lister was the one who made surgery safer later. A father-son duo which was a tag team, you know.
In the early 90s, scientists were struck. The light microscope could only zoom in so much cells were visible, but the tiniest secret inside them stayed hidden. Then came a bold idea. If light can't show smaller things, why not use electrons? Ernest Ruska and Max Knoll built the world's first electron microscope in Germany. Instead of light, it used a beam of electrons, which have much shorter wavelength. That means way more detail. Ruska's invention, the transmission electron microscope, let scientists see inside cells. Later, the scanning electron microscope gave 3D image of tiny surfaces. Thanks to this breakthrough, we can now explore viruses, nanostructures, and the atomic world. For this gift of sight, Ruska earned the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1986. From blurry limits to atomic clarity, the electron microscope changed science forever.
Please, why not? Why not?
Ready? You can edit it right there. These guns here have had that same question for as long as I can remember.
Around the 1670s, he became the...
Pas na libit.
Hey! That's all, guys. Thank everyone and do your best. And